Welcome
Hello.
to another episode of Build on Open Source. This is a show that's live on Twitch right now. It comes to you every 2 weeks, and we cover all the new and exciting updates from the open source community. My name's Derek. I'm a developer advocate at AWS, and I'm joined by the fabulous Rick.
Hello, everyone. Yes, and I'm also a developer advocate focusing on open source. And what a great start to the show, Derek. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've been practicing it for a very long time. So if you watched the show before, you'll notice that our backgrounds are a bit different today. And that's because we're on the road. And I'm actually...
Where are you calling from, Derek? Tell us where you are.
I'm actually currently in a hotel room in Bangkok, Rick. What about yourself?
Well, I am here for the Open Source Summit in Dublin. So I am in a very nice part hotel, part apartment and part hipster place. So I have a kitchen, so I've been cooking all week rather than having the normal stuff. And it's been great. Yeah, and I've been hanging out with loads of open source people. Awesome.
And getting your chef on at the same time. Love it. So if you're listening, this is a live show. So please let us know where you're listening, where you're watching from in the chat. And we'll have fun for the next hour around open source and the open source community. So Rick, would you like to tell everybody who's watching what we've got planned for today?
Yeah, I'd love to. So this is going to be what we're going to show you today. So we're going to start off with a roundup of some of the cool open source projects and news from the last 2 or 3 weeks, because I think the last show was just during the holidays. We've done 3 newsletters since, and one was going to be published tomorrow. So we're going to show you the kind of the cream of the cream. Okay, so we'll do 10 minutes around that, and then we're going to sort of cover a new competition. We've got something that we would love to get your participation from. And then probably the thing really that I'm most excited about is we've got a guest.
We have a very special guest coming out to us all the way from Australia. It's a little bit of a hint there. So really looking forward to that, Rick. So without any further ado, shall we jump into our first section?
I think we should.
It worked.
It works. Fantastic. Those transitions, they get me every single time.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start off with a roundup. I'm going to kind of probably go back a few weeks. And I'm just going to cover, like I said, just the things that I think you really should start off with. So in episode 125, we had this open source project called AWSGoat. And it's a project that is really there to help guide you understand the threat landscape of cloud and your AWS environment specifically. So it provides a safe space in which you can explore that. So I definitely encourage people to check this out, because this takes a more developer-centric approach, and it will help you be better at doing your role. So I think it's a really, really good project to check out. So that's the first one I want to talk about.
Yep.
Then there's this one from Lars Jacobson. Remember the first epised, Derek?
Yeah, Lars.
With the X-ray CLI.
Yes, love that. And ASCII art.
Yeah,
the last episode.
and he's back with another one, right? Yeah, he's back with another project. Yeah. And I like this one, okay, because people who have maybe not familiar with cloud-watch-logs-insights, right? You have to write queries, and you have to remember the syntax. Or syntax? What do you say?
Syntax is something that you pay for sand. I think you meant syntax. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Actually, back in the day, in our glorious Commodore 64 days, one of the demo crews used to be called Santac Terra, and I used to always love that name. But actually, if Santac Terra is out there listening by some chance, then get in touch, because we want to pay homage to your excellence in the past. Anyway, back to the cw-logs-insights. So what this allows you to do is it actually has some snippets of queries that you can paste in to get the goodness from your logs. And I tell you what, this is I've tried this, and it's amazing. So I definitely recommend checking this out if you're using CloudWatch logs. This is great. This is a great tool.
Nice.
So the other one I think is an interesting one is this one here. If anyone's doing any analytics work, especially proof of concept or evaluation, you'll know that one of the things you need to figure out is how to do some test or get a test data, right? And so Gary Staffen, who's a prolific writer in analytics, he's really great. He does great content. It's great. There's a really nice tool that allows you to do this really, really simply. So that's a kind of like a actually that's from the projects. I want to go all the way to the bottom now because in the newsletter I also cover blog posts, but also videos as well. And in this episode, in this edition rather, not episode, there is a video. Sorry for all the scrolling. Where we've got Cy Venner from the containers team, is joined by a couple of folks from Spotify to talk about Backstage. Now, Backstage is an open source project that allows you to build portals for your internal developers to sort of document and show how to use your APIs, right? And it's a really cool project. Actually, Suzanne was here at Open Summit this week. I didn't get a chance to see her session, but she was talking about this very topic as well. And it's definitely worth checking out that video if you weren't aware or familiar with what Backstage is. Okay, that's cool. So that's kind of like that's kind of the roundup for 125. Let's go to 126 now. Yep. We've got, I think, the kind of probably the coolest project that happened last week, which is Event Ruler. This is very cool. Very interesting as well. Cool, isn't it? It is interesting. It is interesting, and effectively, it's a open source library that allows you to effectively match rules to events and do this at scale. And we've got a competition later, so watch out for that because what we'd really like to do is see what you can do this and show us how you might use that. And so apart from the actual project, we've also got a couple of blog posts, one that we created, but also a really interesting one from Tim Bray, who is ex-AWS and was involved in the early days of that. So well worth reading that because it tells you a little bit about the history of the project. Cool. Then we've got this very interesting project from one of our colleagues, Sebastian Derek. He's put this project together. So probably only of interest to Mac users. It helps you install Xcode from the command line. I've been trying it out over the last week and helping Sebastian iron out a few kinks. But it's very useful. No longer do I have to go into the App Store to do this. It can just do it through the command line, which is like manna from heaven. And I really like the way that it uses AWS services like Secret Manager to cache your credentials, right? So I haven't tried it yet, but the concept is fantastic because when you usually start developing for Mac and for iOS, the setup takes ages. It's just fiddly and it's annoying. So this is pretty cool. Looking forward to playing. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I found. I would definitely use this to manage that. I like it to the for those people who use Node or Python, virtual env and NVM, right? So you can install from the command line multiple different versions of Node and Python. And actually for Java as well, there's a version of Java. I can't remember what the tool's called now, but you can switch very easily between and install new versions of OpenJDK through the command line. So I think it feels very much like that. So super useful if you're if you're a Mac developer. If you're not, then sorry. Just had a comment in the chat from Testrycat. It's like starting with Mac OS CI/CD tomorrow. You couldn't have timed this better, could you? So give it. Well, actually, so on that, definitely check out Sebastian's content because I believe in the past or even up and coming on event, he's going to be doing some CI/CD stuff with Macs as well. So definitely keep an eye out for stuff he's doing. Yeah, awesome. I actually had back to Event Ruler. I just remembered somebody was asking me what would be the use case over Event Bridge. What was what do you think the actual implementation, if you were to use it, what would that look like? Where would you run it on? Well, that's a very good question, and I don't really have a good answer for that at the moment. But I guess perhaps if you're wanting to integrate your own systems with Event Bridge, maybe this could be a good way of doing that. But yeah, I mean, I think so. So one of the reasons why we've got the competition, is we want to see how people might use this, right? So don't want to give too much away. We'll talk about that when we do the competition. But yeah, I think that is I think we need to kind of like see more people sort of taking this and using it to either integrate with EventBridge or doing stuff from EventBridge out to other systems, I think. I guess the other thing as well to think to know about Event Rule at the moment is Java. It's a Java library. So if you're a Java developer, great. If you're not, then maybe it's a good time to, experiment.
Learn Java or relearn Java.
So Java has never been more popular. It's still very relevant today, despite what a lot of people say. It's a fantastic language. I've got a lot of love for Java.
Yeah. So, Java love. I can feel it from here all the way in Thailand. From Dublin.
Yeah, I know, Derek. I know you and your .NET crew. You go sit in the corner.
Okay.
So just moving for the purpose of the time, I want to talk a couple of other projects.
We do ramble. I'm sorry, folks.
So a couple of other ones on this one which are interesting. So soci-snapshotter is not really a project you need to know about and you would use yourself, right? But it is really interesting because it solves one of these problems around how do you accelerate the time it takes to start a container. So, if you update container images, one of the equivalent cold start, I guess, problem, it's not a cold start problem, but, the first time you run a container, it has to download that image. And what soci-snapshot, it's easy for me to say.
It is a cool name, but there's a tongue twister.
Yeah. The soci-snapshotter, if that's how you say it, I don't know, it might be saucy or I don't know, SOCI, I don't know. Snooky? Yes, Snooky, yeah. Yeah, and so what it does is it actually optimizes how the images are lazy loaded, right? So it means that your startup time should, in theory, be much quicker, and that is super useful for bridging the gap as to when potentially you might want to use containers versus something like AWS Lambda functions for your for your code, right? So interesting, not something maybe you directly use yourself, but to be aware of and how that actually works is super interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the credentials fetcher is also a really nice little a new project that was released a couple of weeks ago. That if you're working with in a kind of Active Directory environment and you have all your security credentials and security groups that are there, allows your Linux environments through this daemon to actually integrate and then retrieve that information for your application. So that's super useful. It's very handy, and we like that. We like that a lot. And then we've got kind of the current. So this is going to be published on Monday. So again, a reminder: if you at the very end, we'll publish a link for feedback. If you do that feedback, you'll get access to this before then. And we've got some cool stuff. So the first one I want to talk about is aws-lambda-live-tuner. So Alex Casabona, he used to be in our team and now is in the events, the keynote team. He had this really cool project called Lambda Power Tuner, which I'm not sure if you've used, Derek, but it is pretty awesome, right?
It's very cool.
It's very cool, right? And for those people who aren't familiar with it basically allows you to take one of your Lambda functions and then create a graph of different configurations, memory size, and plot basically a price performance graph that basically allows you to make a choice as to whether you want a cheaper version of that function or a more performant version. But that works, you have to do that yourself. You have to run it, and invoke it as part of maybe your testing. This does it, kind of like in real time, which is super cool, right? What? So I think exactly, yeah. That was my
tell me TF, excuse my language.
Indeed, you're excused.
That's cool.
So super interesting, right? That's a super interesting project for people to check out. Now, what other ones we've got this week? We've got obviously people know that I've love these little tools that allow you to sort of work on the CLI, and Surf is a new one from Isan Rivkin. I hope I pronounced your name properly. That allows you to do a CLI search across your infrastructure, and the repo actually has got examples, but effectively think of it like grep. So you can it works with multiple cloud providers, so including AWS, and it allows you to find stuff that you ordinarily can't remember where you put, which is normally what happens to me.
Like every day.
Yeah. Where did I put that EC2 instance?
What was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's interesting. Now, this one, which actually I had to do a double take because of the name, SEGG.
SEGG. Yeah. It's missing a consonant.
It is. It is, Derek. For those people who watch far too much TikTok will get that reference. This is a step function express graph generator, which actually visualizes step functions. And there's a nice little video that shows this working. So a nice little tool there, which I think for people who are into serverless and creating step functions, I think it's going to be a really, really useful tool. And actually, in the
so we have you can visualize step functions inside the AWS toolkit in your IDE. What's the difference here?
This is more, I think, a debugging tool as opposed to when you're in the actual workbench where you actually create them. I think that's the main difference. So cool. Yeah. So then we've also got some sample projects. But what I wanted to talk about, I think it's here somewhere, is a blog post, I think. I've got to try and find it now. It's a blog post. This blog post is definitely a must-read this week. I'm a big fan of Firecracker. It's an amazing technology, underpins, every time you fire a Lambda function underneath that is powered by Firecracker. And this takes a view from a security perspective around how exploring the kind of the attack surface of Firecracker, and it dives super deep and actually teaches you and doesn't make any assumptions about your knowledge around virtualization, but really does a great job at unpacking it all. And so I definitely think it's a really good blog post to read for folks who like to catch up on the kind of the latest open source blog post. So that's super interesting. And then I can't actually find it. I think I know where it is. It's at the in the quick update section, I think. Quick update. Nope. No, where is it? I don't know where it's gone actually. So let's talk about it in this context.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
So we updated. So Kubernetes has a thing called ACK. There's a project we created, and effectively it's a controller plugin that allows you to provision AWS resources. Now, what was launched, I think it was last week, was 5 additional resources that you can actually control from within the Kubernetes ACK plugin that we create. So I think that's, if you're into Kubernetes, then that's definitely worth checking out, the new ones, because obviously it's much easier to manage that within your Kubernetes manifest files than having to then have a separate thing to provision them and then use them within Kubernetes. And then the final thing is this video here from the Containers from the Couch crew. If you haven't subscribed to that channel, you should.
Yes.
But this dives deep into Karpenter. They're evolving and updating that project all the time. And effectively, Karpenter is a autoscaler for Kubernetes that allows you to do some really, really cool things and helps you optimize around performance. But also in this video, they cover how you can optimize against cost as well. So definitely worth checking out that video. So that's
so just to reiterate, Rick, before we move on, Containers from the Couch is another show on the AWS Twitch channel. So if you want to know when it is, just check the schedule, and you'll find when the next episode is. Very, very cool.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much a roundup, really. So this is the latest one. It's not published yet. I'll be publishing it on Monday. So if you want to get access to this before everyone else, then stay tuned for the link at the end, and you'll get it when you complete the survey. The survey will take you about 30 seconds to complete. It's 5 questions. So hopefully some of you will be able to do that and then get access to the thing. So really, awesome. Derek, that's the roundup.
That's the roundup for the week. So it's time to bring in our very special guest. But first, let's transition to our new section. This is the first time we've run this, by the way. So very exciting.
Hey there! Thanks for checking out this video. Remember to give it a like and share with your community. Then hit subscribe and the bell for all the latest content that will help you build on AWS.